so easily. And it really came as no surprise. You look beyond comparing every time that I came close to making a move. I froze. I always do that, and I know it. If I could only be some kind of poet, if I could have my way with words.
Hello everyone. Welcome to our Café&Croissant, April Café&Croissant. Today is a very sunny day in Geneva, and I hope you are doing great. All the entrepreneurs connected today, all the community, all the friends of our community. So welcome. We are gently moving towards summer. Today it's an incredibly sunny day here in Plan-les-Ouates, and we feel a bit like being at this inflection point of things. You know, the inflection point of things that are changing, and it changes when it comes to the pandemic. Waves we have been experiencing. So we get slowly, everybody were getting vaccinated. So that's great. You start to know people that got vaccines. So, and we are bit by bit and hopefully soon normalizing also the situation. So we feel like there are things at the tipping points when it comes to the COVID, of course, when it comes to the general sentiment of coming back to physical meetings, for example. And there are also some other things that are relevant when it comes to technology. So it's about, for example, blockchain that experienced some very good news in the last few weeks. I will mention just one. You know, the IPO of Coinbase. This trading platform of cryptos that today is valued more than 80 billion and doing a bit more than 1 billion revenue, so 80 times revenue. So you understand that the big expectation that the market has towards the use of cryptos and the distributed ledger technology in general. And that's a part of what we're going to talk today. These and other things we're going to mention today. And as always, as usual, I will not be alone presenting you all the exciting news of our community, because I think I share the stage, or should share the stage, hopefully, with my two colleagues and friends, Ingeborg and James. Are you guys there?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Hello. How is life? James, you're holding a book. What is that?
Yeah, I was just received my copy of this book, which is the 10 years of the top 100 Swiss startups. I think you're going to talk about it next, but it really is celebrating the impact of Swiss startups on our economy, and also with these breakthrough products, it's, you know, on the shape of the world moving forward. So it's a nice read, and it's nice to see Fongit in there a few times, as well as some of our great startups. So
fantastic. Yeah, I will mention a bit about this, and also some very good news from Ingeborg. Right? How are you doing, Ingeborg, today?
Yeah, well, thank you. And it is indeed exciting to work with people who are actually shaping our future. And I look forward to sharing with you later, what's happening in life sciences in this region.
Yeah, good. So I think we are ready to go, and for our ride today. It's about the changes, it's about inflection points. But just before entering into the discussion, and I will start to share some information, and then join the stage with James and Ingeborg later on. It's also about closing the financials, right? It's this period of time is for startups a very critical and a bit complicated period, because very often startups, they don't understand why they should close financials and why they should work on top of their normal activities in delivering new products and new services, shaping the future, for actually providing some numbers. And many entrepreneurs, they face with the issue of the famous 725 article of our Code d'Obligation in Switzerland. Something that is very usual from our side. We will mention about it also in one of our events. The spoiler here I can give you is no panic. Don't panic and just keep cool, because 725 is something that is familiar for startups when they manage based on cash rather than P&L. We will probably discuss a bit about it later if we have time. So let's kick off so we can start and have more time for discussion and then question later on. So I will start with welcoming some new exciting companies that just joined our supporting program. So they passed through our selection committee. They passed through our first round with coaches for shaping their model. Now they ended up being accepted at Fongit and being part of the fully fledged supporting program we run. So I'd like to welcome Adipos, a fantastic medtech company that is delivering a breakthrough technology for early detection of cachexia, which is a disease affecting most of the people suffering from cancer when it comes to the nature of the fats they produce. We have a very exciting fintech project joining us, eFrontier Markets. The project is called Money Monsters, and it's a financial learning platform that will use gamification for actually teaching and try to provide education to people that are willing to approach the financial markets. As I was saying before, if you want to invest in Coinbase at 80 times the revenues in terms of capitalization, in terms of valuation, better be good and better know what you're doing, because you can actually hurt yourself pretty badly if you don't know the key logics behind. So Money Monster really tried to address this significant problem. And the third company arriving is Zitlin Technologies, which is an artificial intelligence platform for allowing taking decision with actionable insights, prediction through data analysis. They are focusing now on the airline company, so trying to better identify the routes that airline companies should exploit more. Fantastic team, very technical, very entrepreneurial as well. So these three companies actually show how diverse and how rich is our startup environment in Switzerland in general, in the western part of Switzerland in particular, and in Geneva even more particularly. So welcome to this company. We look forward to celebrate your success. And the celebration of success is also thanks to our new initiative. Hopefully they will help the companies in general that wants to develop in Geneva. Our Fongit Innovation Fund, the fifth, we announced it already last month. We launched it. We start to receive applications, some good applications, some extremely good applications, and we are very happy that we will be soon able to deliver the first loans and the first convertible loans and the first grants to the promising projects that we have in Geneva. So we are very excited that we are actually helping and contributing with this new tool even more effectively. It's supporting innovation for our canton. We were mentioning before about this book that James was holding. It is a book that has a very important name, a very bold title, World Shapers of Tomorrow, and I think it's an interesting reading because it's a celebration of the 10 years of the top 100 Swiss startups, which is one of the most important and most celebrated ranking of startups in Switzerland. Every year they come out with the top 100 startups, which is a ranking like many other rankings. So it doesn't tell anything in particular apart from something which is extremely important: the traction of the innovation in general in Switzerland. And this book celebrates and testifies also another and even more important role that innovation is delivering, entrepreneurial innovation is delivering in Switzerland, which is the impact, an incredible impact of Swiss startups that start to get evident after 10 years with the numbers that start to be significant. So in this 10 years book, you will see more than 400 startups, tech startups, with more than 1,000 jobs created and more than 6 billion raised of capital from these startups. And other element which is important is the 10 years. So once again, we repeat and we keep insisting what at Fongit we strongly believe in. It takes time to develop a project. It takes time to make a project becoming a real company. So this 10 years actually is a very good is a very good journey, and it's actually very compatible with what we see in most of our startups. So this is a very interesting book that provides looking backwards 10 years. What has been the journey of the entire innovation sector in Switzerland. We are all part of it. We are all trying to contribute to make it better, and we are all trying to foster our entrepreneurs to thrive. So I think it's a very interesting reading. You go on the website and you can find the link to it. You can just Google this World Shapers of Tomorrow and top 100 startups that has been done in collaboration with Venture Lab and others. And I think you're gonna find an interesting reading. In case you are at Fongit, we leave a copy of the book in the coaches room available for your reading. Next. It goes a bit in line with the previous message. It's about the European Commission that has just launched a program. It's not a program. It's actually more a manifesto for EU startup for setting up standards for startups. What is surprising and actually extremely interesting is that no matter the jurisdiction, Switzerland, like UK, like France or Italy, startups are addressing often the very same issues. And now there is this initiative that tries to motivate national government to implement startup-friendly policies, which are also standardized. So the points that this program is addressing, this initiative is addressing, are issues that, as a Swiss entrepreneur, if you are one of them, you will immediately understand, and you will immediately figure out as very familiar to you, because we're talking about fast tracking the process of creation of a company. within 1 day for €100. It's about accelerating the visa process for tech talents from outside EU, but also from within EU in the case of Switzerland. And this is an extremely important element. At Fongit, we keep repeating that we need to have, our mission is to retain local talents, but also to attract talents from abroad in order really to foster our inclusive country. We need to, another element that is very important is the share plan in terms of both taxation, so taxation of the options, and also the nature of the options. There are some countries still in Europe that do not allow, for example, non-voting shares to be granted as options, something that in Switzerland we have solved. But you see, all these elements are converging towards a consensus of what a perfect startup environment should look like. And I think this is interesting because it means that different jurisdictions, different countries, different cultures are in the end aligning towards a common understanding on that. Let me give you now very quickly some good news about some of our startups, supported startups. And I will go back to some elements I was mentioning at the beginning of my introduction. Let's start with blockchain. And let's start with some real blockchain application. I will mention Farmerconnect here, which is a company that is active through a blockchain technology on the traceability of the production chains of coffee beans. So the production and logistic chains of coffee beans. And they just secured, I mean, it's 1 month old already, but they secured a 9 million Series A round with interesting investors. It's a Japanese investor, in particular, corporation. And that shows how Swiss innovation is visible also around the world. And Farmerconnect is really trying to create this ecosystem for coffee industry in terms of traceability of the beans traded. So first example of one of the good example of blockchain technology used for traceability issue and authenticity issue. The second news I'd like to share with you is about another company that we are glad to support, is Taurus Group. Taurus Group is a digital asset platform. It's a company delivering and developing and delivering digital asset platform. Of course, is about, again, blockchain, distributed ledger technologies. And then Taurus has been able to convince what is today one of the main banks in Switzerland, Swissquote, to use their platform as a secure storage solution for all the digital assets and the cryptos. So in this world of the tokenized product, Taurus is really setting as more and more the standard for the banking system in order to manage, first of all, with a secure storage solution, and then later on with a digital asset infrastructure for exchanging all these tokenized assets. You know, this goes with the inflection point I was mentioning you earlier on. You know, if you follow this Café&Croissant regularly, you know that we are very fan of blockchain, and we, in particular myself, I keep telling that blockchain is coming, but you know, eventually it is coming. And examples of Coinbase elsewhere, but of Farmerconnect and Taurus are proving that. So I think, and Switzerland can really play a fundamental role globally for delivering blockchain solution. Thanks also to the kind of relatively friendly legal and regulatory environment for digital assets. Voila. So I think this is what I wanted to mention about blockchain, and I'm happy to answer to any of your questions later on. I'd like actually to mention one final company when it comes to sustainable development goals, which a bit also Farmerconnect, of course, is addressing. Here we're talking about a technology called for a company called Tvp Solar, and I'm sorry for the formatting of the slide that doesn't look like ideal to read, but TVP solar thermal high vacuum flat panel, which is a technology coming originally from CERN and then has been developed and advanced incredibly and industrialized mainly through the incredible work of the team of TVP Solar, has been selected for Solar Impulse 1000 solution, which is kind of important initiative that address environmental challenges around the globe. And Solar Impulse Foundation recognized TVP Solar as part of their portfolio of the solution that are going to change the world according to the Sustainable Development Goals and are going to stay there for long. So this breakthrough solution is getting to the market, is getting traction, and we are extremely proud to have supported this company since the very beginning of their entrepreneurial journey in Geneva. So I think with that, I'm arriving to the end of my part of the slide, because when I see life sciences insights, I immediately stop to talk, because I know that the expert here is in another virtual room, and her name is Ingeborg. Ingeborg, hello.
Hi again. Yes,
So,
thank you, Antonio. Shall I kick off?
Sure, you can kick off, yeah.
Okay, excellent. So as customary, we will start with the news from the startups at Campus Biotech Innovation Park, where Geneus is also based. And I saw in the chat, and thank you guys for putting comments in the chat. It's very nice for us as a Von Ziel and Geneus team to see that we have a lively community, viewing and being with us today. I saw Jerome and Gregory and Marie. They're all also based in our building, so thank you for joining. So we'll start with a startup that you may all know. If you have tried to book an appointment lately with a doctor, or you try to make an appointment for your vaccination, or perhaps for a COVID test, you may have come across OneDoc. So the pandemic has been a tremendous accelerator for telemedicine, as well as for the startup, and it's also Geneus alumnus, OneDoc. And they're now being referred to as the booking.com for doctor's appointments in Switzerland. So OneDoc grew in 1 year from about 15 to 25 collaborators, including this by opening office in Zurich. And they grew from having 2,000 doctors on their platform in 2020 to over 3,500 doctors this year. OneDoc manages the planning of appointments of COVID tests and vaccination in 20 cantons, saving the test centers time and also the the population, and streamlining the process. So OneDoc customers previously were mostly private practitioners, but they work now more and more with group clinics and hospitals, including HUG in Geneva. And what is quite interesting, and this is really a direction that we see now a lot in healthcare. OneDoc is collaborating with Medbase, which is one of the largest Swiss healthcare groups, to create virtual clinics. So these are online clinics where doctors, for example, surgeons, generalists, dentists, etc., can work together. So they're really digitalizing healthcare. And you can see on the link in the chat, it's a Radio Television Switzerland RTS program, Tout Tax Compris, they featured one doc, and it's a really, really nice video to see. Now we have seen one doc, who are based at Campus Biotech Innovation Park. Let's have another look at another startup, also based at Campus Biotech Innovation Park, whose activities have been accelerated by the COVID crisis.
I remember my kids and nephew at the hospitals and all these people, wearing masks, and I could see the potential of having a transparent mask.
We also received many enthusiastic feedbacks from patients, nurses, and hospitals, and actually all the healthcare workers.
And the ability to empathize with the people directly was very important.
Our last achievement was to develop a method that increases both the transparency and the resistance of this new material.
The patent process is ongoing to protect our invention.
A medical device of class 1.
Composed of micro and nanofibers. Our guidelines for the selection were low cost and minimal environmental impact.
We started to fundraise
For the Hello Mask project, and the creation of a startup company is now planned for the marketing of the new mask.
No, it broke up a little bit for me. I hope you could all see it well. Antonio, could you see it
Yeah.
on the video?
Yeah, I could actually.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So, very good. So, HM Care are partnering with the Geneva Hospital HUG, which has supported the Hello Mask journey from inception to development to try out their prototypes in clinical settings. And now they're also anticipating the rapid development of a second transparent mask that meets personal protective equipment directives. Hello Mask 2 will offer greater protection during particularly dangerous outbreaks of diseases. The next up is Biopharm. Biopharm is a biopharmaceutical company based in Lausanne, and they launched the Ideal Initiative. It's with the purpose to strengthen the Lemanic region as a hub for life science innovation. The first agreement has been signed with the University of Geneva with the School of Pharmaceutical Sciences to support the advancement of early-stage innovation into clinical development. Biopharm will accelerate the maturation of academic research projects by offering expert advice and by financially supporting projects meeting specific criteria in order to evaluate innovation for entry into the company's expanding pipeline. So, Geneus are very pleased to invite you to our upcoming virtual workshop series on a really important topic for tech and life sciences startups, intellectual property. So this workshop series is particularly on intellectual property for life sciences and will be run by the law firm Brutler. You can learn more about the IP tools, specificity, and how and function matters for life sciences business, and how strategic management of IP assets to increase company value. Attendance is free of charge, and you can contact events at geneus.ch if you're interested in this event. So the link to our contact is also in the chat. And in collaboration with Switzerland Global Enterprise, BioAlps and Switzerland Global Enterprise organized the event Connecting Life Sciences Innovators. It's an online event on the 21st of May from 9 until 11 a.m. So the topic is the Western Switzerland ecosystem, opportunities and challenges of internationalization. And we looked at the program and we really believe that if you are developing a medtech project, you should absolutely sign up. It's free of charge. And there are 4 key presentations from the organizing partners. Links are in the chat. So we mentioned them before, Tech for Growth Health. We really think this is another series that is really valuable for startups to attend or to participate in. It's not really attending, it's very much of a workshop. It's part of the TFV networking event series powered by InnoSuisse, and it will cover 4 verticals. So we're going to have health, industry 4.0, energy, and finance. And Tech for Growth Health is the first in this series and will start on the 31st of May. So EPFL Innovation Park created a series of 6 hybrid workshops with dozens of company executives as speakers to talk about their best practices and lessons learned from their own experiences. What is very nice about this is that startups, CTOs and CEOs and corporate innovation managers can have the possibility to work side by side to help each other and to achieve better understanding and to build a powerful business and personal network. As a BioAlps affiliated member, and for those of you who do not know, BioAlps is the most important life sciences cluster in Western Switzerland. You can register on the BioAlps site for free. As a BioAlps affiliated member, you're entitled to a 20% discount on these event series. And last but not least, Venture Leaders MedTech brings 10 innovative Swiss startups to Boston from September 27th to October 2nd this year for a week of intensive networking, business development, and investor pitching. These internationalization programs are really exclusive opportunities to get to know investors and international industry experts as a member of the Swiss National Startup Team. So you can apply before the 2nd of May, and the links are also in the chat. And I believe that was my last slide.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much, Ingeborg. We had some slight hiccup in terms of internet connection from your side, but all the message went through very clearly. So also because we have a lot of chat with all the reference, but it's you know, it's always very exciting to see how dynamic and how rich is the content that any entrepreneur can have access to in life science, but not only in the life science. It is true though that life science as a whole is a very mature startup scene and community in Geneva. So thank you for sharing with us this extremely interesting information. But please don't go. I mean, you can stay in the background because I'd like can spend some time afterwards to address both Q&As or just having a chat around a coffee. Because now I think we can have James stepping in and giving him a bit of news about some insights and all our events, upcoming events. James.
Yes, hello again. So we wanted to share some of the insights that we've gained over the last months, particularly about funding, because we know that funding is like oxygen. Get too much, you get too high, too little, and you're gonna die. So if we go to the next slide, these are some informations that we got from a very interesting workshop organized by the University of Geneva, by InnoSuisse. And if we can see that slide, I'll be able to talk you through it. There we go, it's like magic. So if very often we have researchers saying, well, I've got a project, it could be a startup, but I'm not sure. It's not at the proof of concept level. And we wanted to share with you the InnoSuisse grants that are called Without Implementation Partner. These are grants where you can get up to $500,000 of support if you are a researcher working at a university or an applied university with an innovative project with a high impact. And what few people know is these have an approval rate of 40%. And imagine you can also, if it doesn't work the first time, you could possibly reapply. So these are very high success chances. They actually represent 1/3 of all InnoSuisse grant money that's being assigned each year. So this is a huge opportunity, and you can get the grant for yourself and your research group. So this wasn't on a number of people's radars, but we think you need to know about that if you are at, we would say, the initiation stage. And that, by the way, if you're in life sciences, that's a great time to be working with Geneus to add the business and commercial side of your research to the project. So that's with on the Swiss level. Of course, if you are already a startup, we warmly recommend you to consider the InnoSwiss normal grants, where you can get up to half of the budget paid for and all of the budget paid for that's being performed at a Swiss research center. Now, on the European level, our friends at Inspiralia informed us about this new funding opportunity called the Eurostars program. And this is actually quite similar to an InnoSwiss grant. So if you are a Swiss startup and you want to collaborate with one or more research centers in Europe, so outside of Switzerland, you can get half of the budget for that supported. So of course, it's got to be, again, a breakthrough project. They can fund up to $500,000 of a project that's total budget is over is $1 million, so half of it. And if you work with a grant organization such as Inspiralia, they can help you write a very compelling grant proposal. So about 1/3 of the projects that they work on receive funding. So if you are considering collaborating in Europe, Eurostars and organizations like Inspiralia can really help you. Because when people say consortium to me, I get scared. But when it's just one company, I think one research center, this is a lot cleaner in terms of IP and in terms of managing the project. So we can warmly recommend that, and thank you to Inspiralia for making us aware of that opportunity. Now, if we move to the next slide, a lot of our startups and our innovation nation are fascinated about the scientific journey from discovery to making an invention, and then how you take that and transform it into a product. And so we thought to make you aware of this course that is being run by Unitech. It's 5 sessions, it's interactive, and it's a very nice walk through the different steps of, let's say, research innovation, how to protect your ideas, marketing your inventions, the R&D strategy in companies, and the final step, from researcher to entrepreneur. So if you're in that academic field or you want to understand what tech transfer is about, this course delivered by Laurent Mieville and his team is very interesting. And if you are someone with a link to one of the applied universities with a startup idea in the design or technology space, we can warmly recommend the Pulse program, which we would call an initiator program. They are accepting the new batch of applicants starting in May. So if you get accepted by Pulse, you have the benefit of a small acceleration program which is run by Pulse with the support of Fongit. You can also, and Geneva will also give you some coaching throughout the process, and you'll have a space and a community and a fab lab to help you develop your projects and see, is it ready to become a startup or a small company? And there's some very nice projects that have come out of that program that we've collaborated with. So that's a great opportunity. And thanks to Pulse for asking us to give them a shout out there. So one of the most crucial subjects for startups is startup governance. And Antonio mentioned this at the beginning of this broadcast. Having a good board of directors that can give you the advice that you need on these legal and strategic questions is key to startup success. In June, there is always a very important period of the year, which is your annual general meeting. And in order to prepare for that and to document it, we bring in Pierre Struvin, who is on the board of over 30 startups, to talk about how to run a good board as an entrepreneur and an executive, how to collaborate effectively with the board, and as a board member, how to work well with your executives, and also preparing for the AGM and how to run it in these times of COVID. There are also a few updates that have happened in the Swiss legal code, and we'll present them very quickly to you. But they say that if strategy without implementation is a dream, and on the other hand, implementation without strategy is a nightmare. And this workshop really combines those two. If you want to get funded, you need to have all of your documentation in place, and we will share all the templates so that we can make that as short and as painless for you as an entrepreneur. So this is one of our most loved workshops in our Fongite Force series. So we look forward to seeing you there. And as a final subject, the Swiss Road to Crypto is a series of podcasts, I think over 30 of them, where Didier Borel over the last 3 years has interviewed some of Switzerland's top innovators in the field of crypto and of fintech. And he interviewed a number of those startups, including InvestGlass. InvestGlass will have a very nice podcast, how the entrepreneur expresses how he built his fintech company in Geneva. And it turned out in the interviews, Didier kept on hearing one name, and that was Fongite. And so he came and he interviewed us about how an incubator helps transform these startups from their idea into a mature startup, and how the coaches really help in that process. So you're welcome to listen to that podcast, the InvestGlass. Some of the top Swiss crypto companies are also there, and there's also one about Fongite. So with that, if you want to stay connected and you want to learn more, please link up with us on our social channels. We tend to lead with LinkedIn and Facebook on our content. And of course, if you're in the life sciences space, complement your newsfeed by following Geneus for all of their news. You're welcome to sign up to our newsletter. The next one will be coming out in a week. And that's, if you're not a Fongite incubator company, that's where you get the invites to the Fongite Forces, because that is only for the insiders. But if you've listened this long, you are an insider and a member of our startup community. So you're welcome. And please either send us an email to events@fongite.com.ch, or go to our webpage and sign up for our newsletter. Our next Café&Croissant is on the 20th of May. And now let's go back to the main studio and hear if there are any questions that have come up. So if I look at some of the questions in the feed and the subject that we talked to earlier, Antonio, it was about pivotal moments. In 1995, the internet had their pivotal moment, which was called the Netscape moment. August 1995, when Netscape went on the stock exchange, and really the world discovered the World Wide Web and the opportunities that were in there. And it seems that with Coinbase last week, that was also a pivotal moment that has occurred. Indeed, it's funny to think that with Ethereum's market cap today is 290 billion, and yet in January 2017 it was only 700 million. So that's a huge wealth creation that's been created because people understood the utility of this technology. So can you talk a bit more about this pivotal moment and what you think it means for blockchain and its applications, and also maybe your memories of Netscape and what that meant at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think both of us, the two of us, we are at the age where we remember what the internet bubble was, and how it went afterwards. I think what is interesting to see, I mean, first of all, I'm just to be transparent, I don't have the crystal ball, and I don't know if there's going to be a pivotal moment or not. What I suspect, however, is that at some point there are events that are actually nudging the collapse of the inevitable. So it's like everyone is waiting to see what the other one is doing, and then at some point it just happens because the nudge occurred, and the nudge was the Netscape. The nudge was for, if you remember, for the internet bubble was a company called the pets.com that happened. This event that actually it's like waking up people in the bad, but also in the good. And I don't know if, for example, I was mentioning the valuation of Coinbase is going to last. I have no idea, because starting to be valued more than 80 times revenues, I don't know how sustainable it can be. But this is the financial world that we cannot foresee, and we cannot really make any bet on. What is, however, more relevant to me is that the thing is there. So Coinbase is public. Coinbase has traction. It might have a huge correction or not, but then this thing is inevitable. Maybe one of the latest Netscape moment was also with electric cars. Recently with Tesla, the same story. At some point now, if you look backwards, it seems inevitable to have eventually electric cars, but it was not at all 10 years ago, even if the technology was in fact there already. So I think it's interesting because it's about the mass adoption, the mass perception, is about the sentiment and the consensus, and I think is much more cultural than what we suspect. So technology very often are there. There are, for example, as you know, the Gartner group that plots always this adoption curve of technologies, where you have the hype of inflation, of expectation, and then you have the drop. You have the hype of the cycle, the peak of inflated expectation. Then you have the trough of disillusionment, the slope of enlightenment, and then the plateau of productivity. So this is what happens into into the technology. But despite what is there, at some point you have this tilting moment, this nudging moment, and the things will go. So I'm trying to tell you that I don't know, but I sense that for blockchain applications, it will be the combination of what the news that we just discussed might be triggering some sort of enlightenment for the technology adoption and real uses. The real uses might come, and I think will come from the financial sector in particular at the beginning, but then it will evolve, and we see Farmerconnect. It's already much more than just a financial sector. You see, so I think that as Fongit, we need to be extremely vigilant on what the new entrepreneurs will tell us in terms of what they feel about the future, and then we'll try, as always, as usual, to empower them and execute what they want to do.
Yeah, thank you for that. And it's interesting to think that from the Netscape moment to the end of the internet bubble was 5 years. So it was quite a long run. We might think that this one's a bit shorter, but nonetheless, if you take your numbers, Coinbase has a significant revenue in the billions. So even if it's 5x its revenue, it's still an interesting company. And I agree with you that so much of this is going from, this is a new technology, should we test it? It's a bit risky, to you've got to have a pretty good reason not to be using this technology because it is the standard, and if you're not using it, you're out of date. And these inflection points are very interesting. And Ingeborg, if in the space of life sciences, are there any inflection points or in adoption that you've seen recently that you can share with us?
Yeah, with pleasure. So indeed, I agree with Antonio. You have the readiness level of technology, and then this adoption, this momentum, where the population is getting ready to actually adopt a new technology. And we've seen a huge accelerated adoption on two important technologies in life sciences due to the COVID crisis. And that's just not just by technological readiness, because it was already there, and not because of, well, it was slowly being adopted, but you saw that because of the instant need, telemedicine and also remote diagnostics have been accelerated over the last year. So we see that even startups that are working in this field, they understood that a lot of technologies that were almost ready or are now ready to be plugged into these solutions, they're now putting them as puzzle pieces together, and they're innovating super fast because the market just needs it. If you cannot go to the doctor, you'll have to have the online appointment. And if you want to have your doctor knowing what's happening with you, you need to have that monitoring that can only be done remotely. And by having that done in remote diagnostics tools, just these trackers or whatever's being developed now, you can have so many data points. It becomes even more accurate. So we see a lot of development in this space, really pushed by the new needs.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You have to have a technology that's ready, and then at some point, the key thing is user adoption. And I'm always amused because we have Moore's law, which means that actually, you should be consuming less material and actually consuming less electricity each year. But in fact, simply the user adoption means that we're adopting more and more computer chips per person each year, and they're being used more intensively. So in fact, it's the adoption that's going much faster than the price curve going down. And that's something that's very often, it surprises innovators.
For example, James, sorry if I may add something, because I think what Ingeborg was saying in the end might be even insightful, not only for life science domain. It reminded me what Stuart Brand. I'm sure you know the guy. It's a kind of the New Age philosopher that the author of the Wool Heart Catalog. One of the source of inspiration of entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs, actually. An entire set of generation of the Silicon Valley of the 70s. And the guy was saying that in the end, if you really want to change the world, you need to change how the people use it, how the people use something. So the usability aspect has always been extremely important, well beyond any type of technology. So in the end, if you see what is happening also with blockchain, I think we can intercept some of these elements, because if you're talking about Netscape moments, I think we're talking about Netscape moments for blockchain since at least 2018, because Coinbase was already there in 2018. And people were surprised then because it was valued 8 billion at that time. So now it's 10 times, 8 billion at that time. But in the end, when you're really moving from one stage to another, what is really the definition of really crossing the chasm, crossing the from a world to another. In the end, it's definitely about technology, and the technology is there, but it's probably around the design, the user experience, and accessibility. So these three key elements are, to me, the ones that are making the real difference. But to me, like anyone else. And the design and UX, it's technology, but not necessarily, because it's about actually interacting. Technology is an enabler of this. So if you go now on the Coinbase application, even my mother can actually trade Bitcoins relatively easy. That's in terms of design and UX. The accessibility when it comes to blockchain, but also more in general, it's also very often implies regulatory aspects. So it is what we call in French the condition cadre. So the framework. There is also a legal framework. There is all that's to make this happen. So if I combine these three elements, and I add the technology as the base of everything, you have design, UX, accessibility. I think that now, 2021, with this also COVID acceleration that accelerated digitalization of many things, and the example of OneDoc is, to me, the best example. In the end, you have all these things that are ticking the box for blockchain. So you have design, you have UX, and accessibility in this wider understanding of also a regulatory framework. So I think we are getting to a real tipping point of crossing the chasm for blockchain as well, hopefully.
Yeah, and we see this with many areas of tech. Sorry, go ahead, Ingeborg.
Don't worry. No, it's really interesting. And my professor used to always say, if people did not understand how the product actually fulfilled their need, even if it does so well, it will still not fly. So it's very interesting that you mentioned this about UX and accessibility. The kind of so what question, no? Like, what can I eventually do? What problem does it solve for me? And as long as people start to understand that, it will help.
Yeah.
And we would, in a number of the InnoSwiss courses, which we can warmly recommend, we talk about the adoption curve. At the beginning, you have the innovators. If it's B2B, it's their job to know what's happening. But it's only when you've got half of the early majority that it starts to become a de facto standard. And that's a very critical step to be in. So we always are talking about trying to get to that stage in a niche, and then move on to other niches rather than trying to freeze the ocean. So I think I actually have my first vaccination tomorrow, and indeed the appointment at the bottom, it's got one doc, so it's very nice to help a project that then is helping me and helping keep my elderly mother healthy as well, so I don't want to infect her. So with that, can we give a shout out to our studio?
Yes, we have in the background our director studio that should be there. Are you guys there? Hello. Oh, good. I know they got some croissant in real, and there is Stefan, there is Sebastien. Great. So great job. Thank you for the support. So that is our cafeteria, and we hope to find you. Ale, Olympia, hello. We hope to find you all soon again in real. And maybe May might be a bit tight, but I mean I got good vibes for summer. Let's say so, James. So we should should get preparing and get in good shape for that.
You want vaccination, innovation, and then vacation.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, and until next time, I wish you all a great month. Thank you for listening. Thank Ingeborg and James for being with us. I mean, all together sharing this moment. Now I'll go and get my coffee, and all good. And until then, let's shape the world of tomorrow. Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.